So, I have a confession to make. I own and operate a minivan. And it might happen that this channel gets slightly popular and a troll or a bot is going to pick up on the hashtags and someone is going to accuse me of being a hypocrite because here I am telling people not to drive a car while I have a car of myself. Well, this channel is not about telling you not to drive a car. Through this channel, I'm actually trying to show you how car dependent I am here and many people are in Western North America and how difficult it is to go without a car. I actually admire people who go car free or car light, but for me, it is really difficult to do. Now, I have many reasons why I cannot get rid of my vehicle. I have kids, the weather here in the winter is really bad, but in this episode, I'm going to blame my wife. My wife needs the van to drive to work. In a recent episode of Not Just Bikes, the presenter explained how he and his wife have an agreement that if both of them do not have to use a car, they won't own one, and they'll use public transit or bikes to get to work. I am going to show the nudges that my wife feels to drive a car to work every day. So, let's begin with the map.
This green line represents my wife's drive to work. Once she leaves our neighborhood, she only has 2 turns before arriving at work. The roads are laid out in a grid, so she has 7 east-west options to go from one north-south road to the other. Because of all these options, it's easy for her to avoid delays, like collisions or construction. Her drive is about 7 kilometers and takes her about 15 minutes. She has free parking at work that is just a 5-minute walk from her desk. By driving, she doesn't need to worry about the weather other than dressing reasonably warm when it's cold outside. This red line is an actual GPS track I recorded while riding the best route to my wife's work that I could think of. I had to ride a little further east-west in order to find crosswalks with lights for pedestrians when I needed to cross the arterial roads. From door to door, this route is about 7.7 kilometers, and it takes about 30 minutes. But what does it actually look like to ride this route? To leave our neighborhood, you have to use this crosswalk. Paradoxically, this arterial road isn't busy enough for lights at the crosswalk, but it was too busy for the painted bike gutter that used to be here. Feel free to leave a comment if you'd like me to go on a rant about a mismatch of words and actions in a city that brags about being an early adopter of Vision Zero, but receives international ridicule for its implementation. The police activity on the right is very unusual. A high crime area along the route would be a nudge not to bike. This multi-use path is decent cycling infrastructure. Its windy nature and close proximity of bushes on the corners can lead to surprise encounters with other people on bikes or who are walking. If she wanted a more direct route to work, my wife would turn left here. However, since there are not lights at the crosswalk, we'll go a few blocks further to where it's safer. We'll also watch out for the pedestrians on the path. We're lucky that this light is green as we approach. It tends to be red for this direction, longer than for the other direction. It is normally activated by a waiting car or a beg button. The white car rolling the right turn on red was more intimidating in real life than it appears in video. Right turns on red are hazardous for people outside of the car, especially when drivers fail to come to a complete stop behind the stop line. Also, the driver tends to only be looking for other cars coming up from the left, or they tend to stop in the crosswalk while they wait for a gap in traffic. Here we see a nice little piece of cycling infrastructure. To reduce the number of drivers on this street, or to stop shortcutting through the neighborhood, this barrier was installed. The gap allows people on bikes to easily pass through. Here we encounter another arterial road. There are no lights for people crossing anywhere along this stretch of road. Today, I didn't have to wait long for someone to stop to let me cross. Another arterial road, but this crossing has a set of lights and a big button to activate the lights. The person across the street pressed the button just as I arrived, and the wait time is not too long for this ride. A long delay time is dangerous and a nudge not to walk or bike. A long delay encourages people to cross against the light and through traffic. It can also add a substantial amount of time to a journey, which is particularly bothersome in bad weather. I've now passed into an industrial area. You'll notice that there are fewer private vehicles and more large trucks. Also, for this stretch of road, the stop signs are all against me. While this is not a major issue, the ride has become a little more stressful as I have to look around parked vehicles for large trucks going 50 to 60 kilometers per hour. I'm really not sure what these people are doing. Larger, heavier vehicles also do more damage to the road surface. As you can see in this industrial area, there are quite a few more potholes and cracks and bumps that need to be negotiated. This is where my wife is no longer able to ride safely to work on the street. She's still about a half kilometer away from work and must either ride on the sidewalk or mix with heavy vehicles on an arterial road. Also, there's no sidewalk in front of her work, so she doesn't even have a choice of where to ride for the last few hundred meters. For many people, even a short but very high stress section of their ride can make them use a car instead of a bike. So, that's why my wife drives to work and why we own a car. Her drive to work is very simple, and she has many route options to avoid delays. She also has free parking at her work. Her bike trip is a little longer in distance, but twice as long in time. It is mostly pleasant through residential neighborhoods, though the industrial area is a little less enjoyable. The wayfinding is a little more difficult than driving, but it would be an easy route to memorize. The main issue is actually the last kilometer. Her work is in an industrial area with no cycling infrastructure. Riding on the sidewalk is illegal here, and the road near her work is too dangerous. So, thank you for watching. Please consider liking if you too would like safe cycling infrastructure around your work, and subscribe so you can see me try again to blame my wife for all my life's problems.